Okay, looking at the plastic card here. So let's see, coronary circulation. Look, right here is the aortic arch. The base of the aorta is where we get oxygenated blood, and it comes to these coronary arteries right here, the red ones, the little ones. They supply right coronary artery and left coronary artery. They supply the heart with oxygenated blood, which has just come from the lungs. Okay, coronary circulation means we're getting oxygenated blood from the ascending aorta here, and it goes into the coronary right and left coronary arteries. The coronary arteries become the coronary capillaries, the smallest blood vessels. Coronary capillaries turn into these cardiac veins here. Cardiac veins, the blue ones. Okay, then the cardiac veins dump into the posterior. This is the anterior view of the heart. It's obvious, anterior view. And the posterior view looks like this. And look, the coronary sinus right here, which is right here, the blue one. And it dumps into the right atrium. So that completes the coronary circulation. And the coronary sinus dumps right into the right atrium right here. Okay, right atrium. The right atrium, all blood from the body dumps into the right atrium here. It's a chamber. It's a filling chamber. Okay, let's go through the steps here. Here's an epicardial part of the heart. Epicardium, 3 layers of heart. Epicardium is what you see. There's a pericardial membrane over the top of it, but what you see is the epicardium. Then the cardiac muscles, myocardium layer. Then the valves in the chambers are lined with simple squamous epithelial endocardium. Make it smooth in there. So let's go through these blood flow. Okay, like I said, let's start with the right atrium here. The right atrium from the superior vena cava dump deoxygenated blood dumps. Superior vena cava is very short. Here's right and left brachiocephalic, the blue ones, the veins. So it's deoxygenated blood. So right brachiocephalic, left brachiocephalic, they dump into the superior vena cava, which dumps into the right atrium. And underneath here is the inferior vena cava. And it goes all the way down to our pelvic area. Okay, so deoxygenated blood dumps into the right atrium. It goes to the tricuspid valve here, tricuspid with a T, and it dumps into the right ventricle right here. This, they call it a pumping chamber. Okay, the blood then goes to the pulmonary semilunar valve here. Pulmonary semilunar valve, you can see it looks like a peace sign. Then it goes into the pulmonary trunk. So this blue one right here is a pulmonary trunk. Okay, so the blood, deoxygenated blood comes around to right here is pulmonary arteries. It's the only artery in the human body that has deoxygenated blood. It's an artery, but it's blue, signifying deoxygenated. Okay? Okay, the blood goes to the lungs to get oxygen. Now look, here's the lung. I know that's the left lung because this cardiac curve right here. See that? Only the left one has a cardiac curve. So, remember, blood's going left and right. Okay, you got a left and right lung. They're very close to the heart. So that'd be the left lung there with the cardiac curve there. Cardiac meaning around the heart. Okay, we pick up. So here's pulmonary circulation. Blood's coming to the lungs with pulmonary circulation. Okay, we get oxygen through the air and alveolar sacs to the blood capillaries. The blood capillaries go. These two right here are pulmonary veins. The only veins that are oxygenated blood. They're red. But normally a vein is colored blue, but these are red because they're oxygen. Okay, and they dump. Remember, right and left. We got 2 cardiac veins here, and 2 on this side. Okay, so these 2 on the right side. Okay, so now we got oxygenated blood, 2 pulmonary veins. They dump into the left atrium here. So this would be the left atrium. It's kind of in the back, posterior. Okay, coming around anterior view. Okay, from the left atrium, oxygenated blood dumps into the left ventricle here, the biggest pumping chamber. And here's the bicuspid valve. It goes through the bicuspid valve or mitral valve. Okay, then blood is pumped through the aortic semilunar valve. Aortic semilunar valve, it's the bottom one right here. Aortic semilunar valve. Okay, blood goes through there. And it comes up, the red one here is ascending aorta, aortic arch. Okay, and this, it goes behind the heart, it's calling the descending aorta. So ascending aorta, aortic arch, descending aorta, and it's the abdominal aorta once it passes the diaphragm. Okay, look, blood, here's the red one is brachiocephalic trunk. The blue one is just brachiocephalic, right and left. So this one's going right. The red one, brachiocephalic trunk. These 2 are going left of your body. So ABCs, aortic arch, brachiocephalic trunk, left common carotid, and left subclavian. These 2 are left, that one's right. Okay, that's our heart, and these are going systemic circulation. These 2 are going in the arms, in the brain, and the face, and this is going down to your abdomen and legs. Okay, so that's what it looks like in a model. Okay, here's the pig heart. This is about a 500-pound hog here. Let's see. Okay, you got to distinguish. So you got to find the anterior view. Definitely find that anterior view. I always find it with the pulmonary trunk there. So here's pulmonary trunk. Pulmonary trunk. So I know this is anterior view. So that's the right atrium right there. Right atrium. And here's the left atrium. Here's the epicardial membrane there. What you're looking at. Okay. You open up the heart and you find, so right here would be, it's cut in 2, remember, right ventricle. So it's the smaller of the pumping chambers. Right ventricle. Right ventricle. Remember, blood's coming from, looks like an ear or an auricle. See that? Right atrium. And it dumps into, opening up the pig heart, and it dumps right into the left ventricle here. Remember, it's the smallest one. Okay. Then it goes to the pulmonary semilunar valve, to the pulmonary trunk here. Pulmonary trunk. Remember, it goes to the pulmonary arteries. It goes to the lungs. Goes to the lungs. It goes back. Here's the pulmonary, this pulmonary veins. They dump into the left atrium right here. Looks like an ear. Okay. Then blood. See, here's the biggest pumping chamber right here. It's cut in 2, remember. So, certainly is the left ventricle. So, blood goes through the tricuspid valve. Tricuspid valve. Then all this valve and Concordia tendineae is the mitral valve or bicuspid valve. Okay, blood goes to the aortic semilunar valve, up, and You see this big, well, here's the pericardial membrane here. Remember, we got like a sac of pericardial membrane around our heart. All mammals have that. So just remember, find the pulmonary trunk here so you know its anterior view. Left atrium, right atrium, and from the left ventricle, the blood is going to go right into the aorta here. It's at the top. You see the big one? Or I got my finger into? That's the aorta. That's the ascending aorta. Okay. Okay, to find the superior vena cava, you got to find a big blood vessel that runs into the right atrium. So, you know, this is the right atrium here. So on this side, if I can find that, it's kind of hard to see with this camera. Here it is right here. Here's the superior vena cava. It's cut, remember, and it's big. So it dumps into the right atrium, and it goes all the way through. So the hole down here is inferior vena cava. Inferior vena cava from coming down from the abdominal cavity up to the right atrium. So, and the superior vena cava is cut right here. It dumps into the right atrium, the oxygenated blood. And we start the coronary circulation and systemic circulation all over again. About 5 quarts a minute, really.